why would they ever have to deal with black people again economically? Or the incentive to marry into Anglo-Saxon families? Why would they ever have to deal with black people again economically? When you're looking at a situation between Kanye West, Candace Owens Farmer, and her husband Farmer, she fit the bill of what they say black women should do. She married in the white capital. She married into an Anglo-Saxon family that, compared to the average person in the world, is wealthy. He's CEO of Parler. Why do they need Kanye West? Kanye West is black. His parents are black. He comes from black people. Now, he's been successful because of his musical talent in breaking that lineage of poverty that impacts most black people. He didn't marry into a white family and be able to benefit from that. He had to kind of build that through music, right? However, what you want to understand is this. The narrative is that being a black man is this scarlet letter on you, especially economically. You have this scarlet letter or this negative brand on you economically. And then therefore, you're not going to flourish in America over time. So as a result, you should be avoided as a marriage partner or somebody to form relationships with. Why does this particular woman, who's being used as an example of somebody that did it the right way, and I mean the right way, race-based hypergamy, why does she and her husband, George Farmer, CEO of Parler, why do they need to go to a black man to buy the company? Candace Owens married into a white family. Therefore, she has white networks. How come those white men that represent white capital of those white networks isn't coming to buy Parler? And this is what you have to ask. There was another woman on YouTube used to promote that same narrative. She married a white man. She married this Anglo-Saxon guy. She talked all the time about how great of a family he was, yada, yada, yada. And then she was on YouTube asking black women for donations. Most black women don't have a net worth over $5,000. My question was, if you married in the white capital, if that's supposed to be aspirational, if you've accomplished the aspiration, and if black men are supposed to be economically null and void, then how come those white men that you married into, that white family that you married into, how come they don't support your business endeavors? They should be able to give you all the support you need because you're using the economic situation as a criteria or as a key performance indicator as to why you need to make this particular movement in the world. And therefore, if we're going to use Candace Owens as an example in this particular perspective, as somebody that did it the right way, why does her husband, the CEO of Parler, why do they need Kanye West? Now, let's see if this deal goes through because, Kanye West, 1 week, he's going to be an astronaut. The next week, he's going to start an ostrich farm. And the next week, he's going to run for president of Bermuda, right? His mind changes every week. Let's see if this deal goes through. But why do they need Kanye West on this deal? She married into white capital. Therefore, she has Anglo-Saxon / white networks. How come they can't come in and save Parler? She also has a relationship with another black YouTuber who also married into white capital. He's a very successful YouTuber. Why don't his group that he married into, why don't they buy Parler? So it's very interesting that the buyer of Parler is a black man who comes from a black family, right? Who has a lineage of blackness in this country, everything that's associated with it, right? And that's the person that is going to help out the family of a woman who's supposed to be the actual advertisement of, improving her economic position by marrying in the white capital. Now, why do we know this? Because we actually do research on this platform. We don't just go by what the headline is and run with it. We actually know how to look things up. So let me give you an understanding. Her husband's last name is Farmer, right? Now, his father's a guy named Michael Farmer, right? British business person, former treasurer of the Conservative Party, life peer in the House of Lords. Okay, so he owns multiple businesses. So now George Farmer is his son. Okay. This is the family that Candace Owens married into. Same question. Why do you need Kanye? Why don't this group and his network put Parler in the position that it needs to be? Because I thought that's why you went over there, because of the economic situation. I'm not saying Candace Owens said that, because Candace Owens has never said it. She said a lot of things, but she said that. However, they're using her as the advertisement or the attractive character for this particular narrative. So we're not going to put this on Candace Owens. She said a lot, but she never said that. I'm talking about the people that...
Hello. Welcome back to Thema Synthos. I definitely missed you guys yesterday. So I learned how to do polls. So period. So I see it coming. If Kanye West actually purchases Parler, these people are going to be crying online. And when I say crying, I mean they are going to be boohoo bawling online. I am making a prediction right now regarding this. And thanks to the Rational National, I watched a video of the Rational National, and I didn't actually care about the sort of business model behind the farmer's business and why George Farmer, who is Candace Owens, was the CEO of Parler. Like, I didn't really care. I didn't think about it. It's not something that I'm interested in. Um, but, but watching the reaction of these men saying, see, y'all need Kanye. Kanye is going to buy this social media site, and Kanye is this, and why can't you go find white people to buy it? You had to turn to a black man to buy. Buying Parler is a terrible business, and no one is buying. How do I put this? Because the thing is, I don't want to tell Kanye anything. I don't want to stop Kanye from making money. And if you think the social media aspect of that company is worth anything, and this is obviously assertions based on how we understand social media platforms to work, right? The whole pitch for Parler is essentially that you will not moderate on it, that people will be free to say whatever it is that they want, and Kanye can go on there and say whatever he wants. This is not true. Parler was discontinued from most platforms that host apps, right? And for them to have been reinstated, they had to upgrade their policy to monitor people's posting on there. So you don't get free reign to say everything that you want. But that's what they're promoting. So it seems inconsistent to say the reason Kanye is going to buy this and we're going to develop this so that people can come and say whatever they want. You can't. You literally can't do that because you are being hosted by the app stores all over. So you can't do that. So unless you are intentionally lying to people about the capacity for them to do whatever they want on the app, or you're lying to Kanye. And you guys are actually developing this thing where people will be able to run amok if they want, but no one will host it. So look, I am here to listen to the full thing and be all in it. But the reason why these people, these rich people, you claim these quote unquote white people, his family, George Farmer's family, aren't buying it. Well, one, why would they buy something they already own? That doesn't make sense. But the reason they're selling it is because it's not good. It's not. There is a lot of reasons to sell a successful company. Not being able to provide the amount of capital in the immediate sort of climate, right? Not being able to provide in the moment to a successful company might be a reason why you sell part of it. But this doesn't seem like that kind of deal. It doesn't. No one is talking about Parler. No one is saying, "Let me go Parler this. Let me go on Parler this." To see what is happening, right? So I think it's interesting to see how this is going to turn out. But the fact that people are somehow turning this into some kind of a win for black men, I don't know, because you guys are going to be back crying. I promise you're going to be back crying because that doesn't make sense. In any case, I'm going to say y'all need to leave Kanye and Candace alone. I think you guys can let them be great because we're about to see everyone start crying because there's no possible way you can think that Candace and her people are just here in good faith to sell a company to Kanye. Like, no, it already looked bad from that, but then watching the Rational National breakdown of it, I was like, all right, that makes sense. All right. Yes, he was serious. Isn't there also laws against incitements? Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a ton of restrictions. Like, these people think they're going to be able to run amok. I promise you they won't. Someone is being lied to. Either Kanye is being lied to, or the advertisement about what Parler is a lie, or not full. Let's not say lie, because in advertisement, it's not unethical to quote unquote fluff it up. And these fluffs are not fluff. To me, they're straight up lies, but they're not considered legal lies when you fluff up you puffery. I think the phrase is puffery. All right. I need to make an announcement, by the way. So I came home. I was away out of state for the last 2 days. I came back and I am downstairs and I'm hearing a beeping sound like a smoke detector. So I called someone over to fix it and they said it was upstairs. We went upstairs and they attempted to fix it. But every like 30 minutes, I hear like a beep and I'm not sure where, like, no one who's been over here can tell you where it's coming from. There is a beep. We've disabled all the smoke detectors and then updated them, put them back, and it's still happening. So I'm not sure what is happening. Like I'm literally not sure what's happening. So if you hear a beep, please bear with me. I know it's usually annoying, but I think I heard it once since I've been on, and I've been on for 11 minutes. So maybe it's not going to be as bad, but we'll see. Someone said it's the ghost plate. Y'all remember that ghost? He or she has not left. The ghost is still here. I'm going to be on here for 2 hours and no more. I'm trying to keep to that. All right. All right. One more thing before we start. So I got right before I came on, I got the news that some man was talking about Alea. And you don't know me, but Alea is, I wouldn't say she's my favorite artist or anything like that, but you know, those people who you want to think are your favorite artists, and like, I don't know, I just have a special place in my heart for her, right? As a 90s baby, I guess. I don't know, I just, she's gone too soon kind of, and like I listen to her music and I feel like we didn't get to see where she was going to go, right? She left us at like the height of her fame and popularity, and she was doing Queen of the Damned, which I actually like, um and she never got to finish. So love her, watch it, it's fine. And so I'm like, oh, okay. One of her co-star from Romeo Must Die did an interview. And so I decided, you know what? Let me check out this interview because people have been talking about it. And I go to check out the interview. I can't play the interview. I cannot play the interview. But Isaiah Washington um, was asked about what happened with R. Kelly and 15-year-old at the time, Alea. And I'm going to pull up what he said. But wait, let me show you who he is. If you don't know who Isaiah Washington is, here he is. We're not hiding anyone these days. So this is who he is. He was in Romeo Must Die. He claimed he was on Vlad TV, and he claimed that he did not, that he had a crush on Alea, blah blah blah. It doesn't matter. So this is the exchange. And I'm not going to play the video because Vlad out here striking people, and I'm not about to do that with him. So he said, she was very, this is in reference to R. Kelly and Alea and an alleged pregnancy and marriage and all of that stuff, right? He says, she was very, Alea, was very in control of her being, but she was a businesswoman too. super smart. I think she was in control of that situation, even at her age. She was 15 going on 30. She was 15 going on 30. So she was in control of that whole situation. I don't judge her, but she was very smart and very mature and very in control of her situation. I don't believe 1 minute that Alea was made to do anything that Alea did not want to do. This girl was 15 years old. Is someone going to sit here and tell me that's not degenerate? Like, I'm not even mincing words at this point. Is someone going to sit here and tell me that is not degenerate? Are you going to sit there and tell me that's not degeneracy? Is there anyone who is going to tell me that that is not degeneracy? You're going to blame a 15-year-old girl talking about she was in control. That is degenerate. I have never heard anything. I've never heard this man, Washington, whatever, said anything. I don't know him. I don't think he is in the media like that. And I think we get lost sometimes when people are so willing to come out and say anything, but it's one thing to think certain things, certain ideas that are bad, but it's another to actually say it. And there's a part of me that feels like these people are doing it for a specific reason. Maybe it is to numb the crowd to child abuse. Maybe it is to cover themselves for when things about them come out. Maybe it is that they actually don't care. And maybe it is just a culture that maybe we accept this. I don't know. But the fact that you come out so willingly and you talk about it as if it's a matter of fact and you don't kind of expect pushback, because or maybe he does expect pushback, I don't know, but the ease with which you're saying this is ridiculous to me. It, like, how do you want a 15-year-old to be accountable for a 20-plus-year-old man engaging with, like, I don't understand that. Sounds like he needs a Me Too moment, because they're victims of his, I'm sure, allegedly. Look, I mean, I don't know, and I wouldn't be surprised, because for you to say a 13-year-old girl is in control is very strange to me. Like, that's a very strange position to have. Like, it's a very strange position to have. Now I'm going to start the video, and I'm going to address a beef that I'm having online, because I don't usually address. Sorry. I don't usually address beefs online. But I'm going to address this beef. Give me 2 seconds. Let me put up a poll. let me do one. Y'all need to stop. I usually don't address beefs online, but I feel like I can't let this one go. Should I do a poll for this? No, I'm not going to do a poll. I'm gonna wait for these polls to come in. I just put up a poll, so let's see if I'm gonna have to do a drag. I'm gonna I'm gonna end this live stream now. This live stream is going to end. Absolutely, this live stream is going to end. Y'all have me messed. Y'all are wrong out here. I wish I could. I don't know how to show the poll. She gets viewed as an adult at 15. Year 20. Oh, PJ, 22-year-old. Washington was called a boy that got taken advantage of by Brittany Renner. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, no, yeah, yeah. Petty is crazy. Drag him themis. Look, no, Petty drags himself by showing up. Look at this. Prince Petty dragged himself by showing up looking like this. Petty drags himself. No, let me stop. Let me not provoke Prince Petty because I don't want another diss track coming at me. Let's just say we are not. Wait, I just saw something. No, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. This is not true. Wait, let me actually let me say, to my friends watching, that was a joke. I am sure Prince Petty is joking. I am not in an online beef with anyone. Not y'all thought I was. No. Petty is another content creator on YouTube, and like we don't have issues. I'm pretty no. He is joke. Let me text this. See, this is why I'm happy. I'm very happy that I didn't do more. My first instinct was to go off and like have fun and quote unquote drag, because my friends are actually worried, like, are you really? Let me tell you how wrong these people are. They're going to text me. No, I'm saying it. Well, we're on live chat, by the way. I'm on a live chat. No, I'm not gonna say anyone's name. Whatever. Let me end this. Sorry. I'm doing two things at once. So, no, someone said your friend's about to pull up. No. They literally were texting, talking about if I'm lowering the words hadn't even come out yet, talking about if I'm lowering myself to have beef with people online. Not y'all being elitist. These people texting me asking, are you really about to have beef with someone online? No, of course I'm not about to have beef with people. Look, y'all, I'm trying to have fun. Y'all just mess up the mood. Y'all just mess up the mood. Like I'm not annoyed. It's kind of funny, but like, y'all, of course that was a joke. Come on. Ugh. How do I show the poll? I wish I could show the poll. So Prince Petty, I won. The chat has voted. It is 60. It is 63. I mean, 100% to 0. No, I'm kidding. 63 to 37. Let me end it. No. Y'all are messy. My friends are like, oh my God, not you gonna fight online. Like, no. Oh my, I'm done. They killed the vibe. Y'all just killed the vibe. No. I told y'all to hold me accountable, but like, we can have fun online. All right, let's start the show. Ah. Yeah, they killed the vibe. I'm gonna have to drag them when we get off. Ugh. Of course, I'm not gonna beef with someone. Like nothing in this. Like it's not that important. No one is like arguing with people online. Like no one does that anymore. A whole poll talking about who really won, but he ain't in no beef. Anywho, I might actually create a diss track later. I might create a diss. We might go back and forth. All right. So on a serious note, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Someone said, I love when I catch a live from the beginning of the show. Period. Thank you. I love when you guys catch a live from the beginning of the show. But guess what I'm about to do now? I'm going to also put up another poll. Did you like the stream yet? I'm having too much fun with this. Why am I like this? Did you like the stream yet? Ask the community, period. Because polls are in. Y'all are going to be disgusted with these polls. All right. Tell them you stay in brown stew, not beef. Period. I'm vegetarian. I don't eat beef, but I will deliver it to your door. All right. So today we are going. I don't even feel like this is wrong now. Congrats on 15. Oh, we made it to 15K. Let me check. Period. We're exactly at 15,000. Thank you all to all the new members. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I appreciate you guys being here. I missed you guys yesterday. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much. For all the new subscribers, I appreciate you. Let me reiterate before we get into mess. We do engage in mess over here, but we try to keep it cute. We try to keep it classy. And we try to also have fun, but be respectful to each other. Don't call each other's name. We're going to create a community where we feel loved. There's going to be tough topics, but the feeling I want when you guys leave is you guys came over to my condo. We had tea or drinks and we kicked it up on the couch, pulled out some magazines and started talking. And I don't know, it should feel like a good hug, right? So let's get into this video that we're going to discuss today.
A psychiatrist, a member of the Medical College at Harvard University, and author of the well-known book, Why Blacks Kill Blacks. To begin with you, Sister Welsing, why do you believe, basically, black men are becoming so significantly attracted to white women, or is it vice versa?
I'd like to turn it around. I think, first of all, that white women are seeking black men first. Black men some are attracted to white women. And I don't think that we can understand this phenomena unless we understand really what is the larger dynamic that is occurring, not only in this society, but in the world at large. And the way that I look at that phenomena is that, number one, we are living within the context of a system of white supremacy, which is my definition of racism.
All right. So this is a lovely conversation that I was privy to. I've seen it before online, but I was reminded that I needed to discuss this today. So we're going to discuss this today. So again, you're over. Someone said this is heavy. Themis, this is heavy. Are you off tomorrow? I am not off tomorrow, but we can do it. We can do it in an hour and 30 minutes. We're going to be principled. We're going to get through this in an hour and 30 minutes. So let me speed this video up. We're going to go with 1.5 and we're going to listen good. We're over. We're in the condo. We're sitting. I'm making you guys drinks. We got a bartender on the go. We're in a circle and we're watching TV together and we're going to talk. All right. We're having tea. No, we're having drinks. All right. Let's have the conversation again, because this video is from 1973, right? So this conversation is not new. The interracial conversation is not new. By the way, I have some videos on Dr. Umar that I want to discuss. I have a video that I did about Hafiz, which today was going to be the video about Hafiz. But I've decided to hold off on it because Hafiz did something that I'm extremely proud of. Oh my God, that should have been the video today. No, so the reason I've been upset with Hafiz is I don't think he has a backbone necessarily. And for the first time, I saw him stuck up for himself. Now, I didn't fully agree with him, but for the first time, I saw, which one should we do? Because this is kind of heavy. All right, let's do a poll. Did I set that up? Did I intentionally set that up to do a poll? Did I set that up to do a poll? No, we don't have time. We don't have time. So I might come back tomorrow. I might, because I want to do this. Because I want to do this, I am going to do it. This is so bad. All right, let's get into it. Let's get into it.
Is a worldwide system of white supremacy, domination, and control. And all of the behavior that we see all over the world, whether it's the behavior of the black woman, the white woman, the black man, or the white man, is occurring within the dynamics of this system. And we can...
Hey, Vanita Taylor has been a member for 2 months at the Toast level. I just want to shout you out. Let me look at my phone because I can see you guys doing it like that. I'm going to try to not interrupt as much because I do want to get through as much of this as I can.
Understand what is happening as far as the white woman, black man relationship and why that is on the increase. I think if we understand the need for the system to remain intact.
But Francis,
Okay.
You don't think that the black man has a special attraction toward the white woman?
Oh, yes, he does. Yes, he does.
Why is it?
Well, he has been programmed historically to feel that, first of all, this is the woman who is the woman in the world. And this is a thing that has been denied him, in terms of, let's say, male-female relations or sexual partners. The black man, at least in this area of the world, has been told historically, you cannot touch this woman. And so at that level of social dynamic programming, yes, the black man has always felt, well, this is the one thing that I have been denied in this society. And so many black men, I think, at one level, they are moving towards white women. As white women move, white women are the major aggressors in this situation. But the black man is playing his role because he says, well, this is the thing that I've been denied. This is the thing that is going to be the great.
So, by the way, I am not for disrespecting our elders generally. And so please, if you can, refrain from calling people names, even people on the screen who are not here. All right. I don't appreciate saying the white women are the aggressors in the relationship with black men. I think hopefully we'll have time to discuss that later, but I'm putting a pin there. I can't really get into it now because I don't want to take up too much time.
Great equalizer.
So that the need has sort of been exaggerated, because if we look at those statistics you just mentioned, actually in the past decade, even with the increase, there's only about 43,000 black man, white woman marriages. That's a very, very tiny percentage. That means about 2% of black men are married to white women. Now, if we had accepted the propaganda, that is the white propaganda, that all black men desire a white woman and they want to marry your daughter, you would expect the incidence of the marriages to really be increasing at a much greater
Yeah,
rate.
I was going to ask, does it mean that that the fact that if we accept the fact that black men do feel that white women are preferable to black women, are we saying that their behavior in the context of standard behavior is normal or abnormal?
Well, I don't like to use those terms. I would prefer to understand the phenomena. For example, if we start labeling behavior, like, for example, homosexuals don't like to be called pathological, for one thing. And I think that it is more useful if we say, well, let us try to understand the phenomenon of homosexuality, as opposed to saying, well, now that's sick. And then people get turned off and they don't spend time trying to understand the dynamic. In the same way, I don't.
She was ahead of her time, even if you don't agree with her, even on pathologizing homosexuality, because it was, right, pathologized. And even in her description here, attempting to sort of depathologize and understand as opposed to describe it in that way, but even calling it a phenomenon, right, Erica, I think was a step ahead of its time. Right? Like, obviously, it's not acceptance in any meaningful way, but it is a step ahead of its time. I think that's an important note.
Want to look at the phenomena of, cross-color sexual mating or marriage or whatever. And in terms of pathology, I would rather say, well, let's try to understand what actually is going on.
But you call the white woman the aggressor.
I say that she is aggressive because we live in the context of a white supremacy society in which white people are the dominant group. They are the people who control the power. We are the oppressed people. We are the people who are victims of that system. Just like, in terms of history, it was just a short 2 months ago in terms of the whole historical span that black men were being lynched for looking at a picture of a white woman. Do you see? And now we are told, well, now everything is opened up. Well, I want to understand, well, why is it that everything is opened up? I think everything is opened up since black men started talking about black power. You see, when black men start talking about black power, then that says, well, all right, maybe there will be a challenge to the system of white supremacy domination, not only in this area of the world, but all over the world. So the white supremacy system says, all right, well, now what do we do to, get these people back in control? And what do we do to get them back in check? That is the black man. Well, we'll lay our ace trump card on them, which is a white woman.
In other words,
you see, which brings the black man then back within the context that the white supremacy system is going to work for you. See, we denied you this, now you have it. But on close examination, in spite of all of the black-white marriages, the black-white sex that has occurred throughout history, in the last 500 years, there has been no serious tampering with the maintenance of white supremacy, certainly not through the bedroom activity.
There's so much. So she also said that in response to Black Power movement, white people gave white women to black men, right, to sort of appease them, right, and quell the upheaval. I think this is an interesting statement, but there is a way in which agencies removed that I don't like. And that's what it sounds like to me, honestly. But there's a way agencies remove that I don't like. But we'll get. I like talking, and I don't like just letting things play out. All right.
Do you see what I'm saying? But in other words, it throws people off balance.
So
in other words,
the white woman is still, I think, in a position of psychological dominance. And
right.
insofar as she is, that's a form of white supremacy, and that the black men are frequently responding to her dominant position, the fact that she is considered a superior status object in society. But getting back to this point...
Well, let me ask you a question before you move there. Then if we accept that, are we saying that the black men who marry white women are asking for dominance from a female?
No, the black men who are married by white women.
But the trend, you continually...
No, I think that they're looking for status.
The black men are looking for status.
Men are looking for status, whether they are aware of it or not. In other words, as long as you have white supremacy domination any place in the world, whether it's Brazil, whether it's Hawaii, whether it's Japan, any place, you name it, that as long as the people of color are the people who are oppressed, then when a marriage occurs, in other words, the dominator says, I will pick you amongst the victims who I dominate to marry you, then the victim says, oh, goody, this means I'm in.
Well, that's true, but if I can ask this question.
Okay.
It seems, the way you are framing your analysis, that the almost total blame, if we can use that word, for interracial marriages is because of, one, white society vis-a-vis white supremacy.
Seeking to maintain it.
And two, white women being the aggressors. You seem to be saying, and I'm asking a question, that black men are just blameless and they're sort of like the victims of something that they have no control over, or...
I think this is a gross mischaracterization. The only way you have access to marry interracially is when the white society determine you have the ability to do so, right? So, I mean, I think on an individual level, the decision to go and marry is an individual choice, but we cannot ignore, right, the system that existed that either grants permission or removes permission. I I don't understand why it's so difficult for the people, the men on the conversation in this conversation, to fully recognize that you had no.
Or that they have no need to be married to a white woman for some perhaps pathological basis.
No, let's say, for example, if you set up the conditions for the development of a sadomasochistic relationship, then the masochist as well as the sadist is a part of that relationship, and they are playing roles that they have been conditioned to play. In other words, a person who is a masochist seeks out the sadist because then they could play their sort of dual game, their mutual reciprocity together. Now, within the dynamic of the system of white supremacy, you have, for example, many of the white women who are with black and other non-white men are actually, I believe, having a dialogue with white men.
How does that work?
See, the dialogue goes like this, according to my analysis. First of all, the white women, we have the women's liberation movement, which is a dynamic of white females. Okay, they are asking for liberation out from under the white male. All right, now within the dynamic of the white supremacy culture, you also have penis envy. In other words, the white men have been perceived as being dominant over the woman. And so the woman says, well, I wish I had a penis. Okay, so what does she do? She says, well, I'll go out and get one that's supposed to be more powerful than yours, but I'm going to control it because we are white and we control all of the non-whites. So she goes out and she selects, and all this is unconscious, activity, if you will. She goes out and selects a non-white male, be he black or any other non-white. Then she is walking down the street, or they can go to the, justice of the peace or the priest or be married. And anytime a white man sees that, she is communicating to him, see, I've got one because I am in control of this.
I don't think we can, generalize to that extent. I think that's a theory, but it's getting back to the question when we present arguments that way is whether the relationship between black men and white women are pathological. Now, Frances said she doesn't like to think of it in that framework, but the fact is that a lot of psychiatrists have presented or said that interracial relationships in marriage stem from a type of negative psychological position or some type of pathology because of the racism in society. They'll say that the racism distorts people's minds so that frequently you'll get, say, a white woman attracted to a black man for the wrong reasons or for racist reasons. She may see him as inferior, that might turn her on, or she might see him as a black stud, that may turn her on. All of these are racist perspectives. Or the black man can get attracted to the white woman because she's supposed to be superior and he wants to be part of that whiteness. In other words, she's sort of anointing him or helping him to feel a sense of self-worth by his involvement.
Well, I wouldn't argue with any of that.
But at the same time, I think that we can't say that this happens with everyone, and even if it does happen, that this is pathological.
Well, let's look at it this way. Let's say, for example, white men and white women have many difficulties in terms of marriage. All right, I mean, there's a lot of alienation that is going on just within the white group itself, within the whole total context of the white supremacy system. Black men and black women have serious problems in terms of the marital relationship. Now, either we say that all of these people are sick because of various problems, or we can say, well, now let us look at the total behavioral phenomena that is occurring within a social system. Let's not bother to label it, but let's begin to understand what is happening. Do you see what I'm saying? Because there are many, many problems. I wouldn't want to say that I don't think it's useful. At one level, we can say, all right, these are pathological relationships, the problems that black men and black women have. Or we can say that the problems that white men and white women have are pathological. But I don't think that, see, because once you say pathological, then, which means sick, then people who can be helped by understanding the dynamic, they're turned off because they don't want to be labeled as sick, but they may want to understand the phenomenon.
Well, for purposes of analysis, let us assume.
Like, let's say everybody who comes to a psychiatrist doesn't want to be labeled as sick. They say, I have a problem. I don't understand how I am relating to this other individual, and the product.
So I don't fully, and I'll do this quickly. I don't like that she's backing away from calling it pathological. If they believe as doctors it is pathological, I don't pathologize because I don't have the credentials to do that, right? But if I did, I would be pathologizing left, right, and center. I don't care about her feelings anymore. But I can't do that because I don't have the credentials. We have we have two psychologists or psychiatrists, I believe they are, and that is their job to pathologize. Obviously, you don't do that to an entire group unless you do, and this is what the research indicate, and this is what your studies have indicated, then you should. I don't see a problem with that, either on the male or female side. I don't care if that, I don't like the backing away from it because it doesn't look good.
Yeah.
That we have that I don't want. Let me help me understand it so I can straighten it out. And this is where I'm coming from. I don't want to create a big
At the same time, though, I think we can recognize certain things that I don't know if we want to call them sick, but that are distorted. For instance, I've seen black men married to white women, and essentially they hate other black people. That they have sort of joined the oppressor and are actively anti-black. And
An expression of self-hate.
That's right. It's an expression of self-hate for them to marry a white woman.
But now,
On the
look,
other hand,
I
I see some black men who are married to white women who remain militantly black.
Well, couldn't that be a defense mechanism?
But it is a contradiction.
But being militant, let's just deal with this. Some of our most revolutionary blacks have white women. Now, many blacks suspect, and it's an open secret, that their militance is simply a defense mechanism so that they can deal with their need for a white woman.
Well,
but look at it this way. Many of those
go
so-called
ahead.
militants who are married to white women, I think it's because of the way that they have defined the problem for themselves. Many black people who are white person will say, well, that person is militant because the person happens to be saying black power. They are not really talking about the overthrow of white supremacy. They're talking about workers of the world unite, maybe. Do you see what I'm saying? But because they are black, they're saying, well, okay, from I'm saying in terms of a whole humanistic struggle, they're talking right. You see what I'm saying? So they don't perceive,
I think,
but they don't perceive a contradiction because the whole struggle of black people until recently has been defined as trying to get into, we want to become a part of the society as though it is possible for people of color to become a part of the society. Now, some black behavioral scientists are saying, on the basis of having made an analysis that the system is one of white supremacy, in which none of the non-white people in the entire world who happen to make up 9/10 of the total world population, none of the non-white people can actually integrate into the system of white supremacy because it is just that, maintaining white supremacy. Okay, so now within that context, then some black people are rethinking the position in terms of now, if I am talking about the overthrow of white supremacy as a system worldwide, then what does it mean for me to not only marry, but for me to have sexual relationships with a person who, whether they are willing or not, are participating in the maintenance of white supremacy. And some of us are taking the position that if a white person really says that they like a black person or a non-white person, then they will abstain from sex and they will abstain from marriage because they perceive also their position within the white supremacy context. That as long as we have a system of white supremacy, then white people, when they relate to non-white people, are relating at a level of unequals. And until it's equal.
All right, let's get into this discussion quickly. Please get your thoughts together because we're going to go through it quickly. All right.
Okay.
The question, not question, but the prompt is integration into a system of white supremacy or overthrow. Now, is it possible to integrate in the system that you're planning to overthrow, or do you have to overthrow it or actively oppose it?
I think that you have to actively oppose it. I think that integration into the system has made us complacent and have had so many different consolation prizes that have come up that have really kept us back because we're trying to play fair because we're not on our side. We've decided to be on everyone's side, and in a white supremacist world, that's keeping things the same. That's conserving, i.e. conservatism. So,
I'm gonna let you wrap up, but I'm with you, and I'm telling you to speak quickly in my mind because I want us to get through as much of this as possible. But go ahead.
Absolutely, yeah. And what I wanted to add, so the prompt is that, and I answered it right. You can't integrate while trying to overthrow. I will say that one of the things that really rubbed me the wrong way is that these are psychological, academics, and they understand racial dynamics, they understand gender dynamics, right? Because that's what we're talking about. The men cut her off often. And
I don't think I disagree with that. I do think the way that they're having the conversation is, I'm going to use the word all-encompassing because of what my sociology professor did. I don't think she was being cut off. I think that they're at such a high level intellectually, and I include all three of them. I think they are both outmatched though by her. That too many concepts are coming out, and everyone want to get in immediately as the thought arises, and it's very difficult because no one is taking notes. But go ahead.
The only thing I wanted to the other thing I wanted to say, and I'll take your point. What I wanted to say is that I wonder if in the situation where that she's describing, if the Black men are trying to seek their power and masculinity through the militants. So, within
that is coming up next.
Oh, okay. All right, then I'll comment.
Next, but they'll come to it. Pretty brown skin.
Hi. I don't believe we needed to be integrated because as we can see now, it hasn't really worked out for us.
Wait,
We had
wait. Before we critique the civil rights, let me switch the question then.
okay.
Do you think it is possible to oppose a system of white supremacy while engaging in sexual relationship with white people and marrying white people?
No.
Why?
The reason why I'm saying no is if the system is what we are saying that is perfectly designed to not help the black community to succeed in whatever we need to be succeeding in, pretty much you sleeping with the enemy who created that system is pretty much playing into the game of white supremacy. Because
Go ahead.
you can't sit here and say that you hate the system, you hate what it's doing to our people, yet you're sleeping with the people who created the system. People say the system is rigged. It's really not rigged. It's doing what it's supposed to do. It's been doing what it's designed to do. So you can't be mad at the system for doing its job. We need to be mad at ourselves for us actually playing into the system that you already know is not designed for us. So if
Gotcha.
you are sleeping with white people, then you can't say the system is rigged because the people that you're sleeping with is the one who designed it in the first place. We were never supposed to succeed in their system. Nobody's supposed to succeed in their system except for white people or for white immigrants who come here is going to succeed for them. But if we really want succession in our community, overthrowing the system and the people, and actually, or if we can't do that, let's create our own system and our own needs that would actually benefit us, or
All right,
and
wait.
also black
I'm
immigrants. And I'll
I'm
go on
cutting
with
you
that.
off. I'm cutting you off because we have to go back to the video. Paris, I see you in the back. I will add you. If more people come on, then I will remove some of you and then we'll change. But for now, you four can stay. Rita, thank you. It's 77 people in the chat. Please like the video. I don't want to hound on this, but it does help and things and blah blah blah. Please like the video. All right.
Then some.
By the way, I'm getting your thoughts. I'm not pushing back or asking question. We just don't have the time for it. I'm being rushed in my mind because I want to get through the video in time to have a discussion, like an actual discussion.
Something else is happening. Do you see what I'm saying? In other words, the non-white person who is in bed with a white person, thinking that they are bringing about a humanistic union, are really bringing about their further subjugation because they are thinking in the act of sex that now we are one and now we are equal. And so when you find that those people who are in bed with white people, when they get out, like you said, they are negative, and you can make a diagnosis. If you see a black person being very, very negative when they are, with other black people.
This is in all cases? I mean,
No,
you're sort of
I
making a
want to say
political.
all. I
Okay, but
don't
you're sort of
wanna
making a
say
political
all and
statement.
everything.
Just
But you have to
saying that.
agree.
I'm saying that the act
That man said, "You're gonna make that exception. I'm gonna make you make that exception."
sex is a political act.
Yeah.
Do you see? Just like
Women
every other
between
act.
people of blacks and whites.
Every act is a political act because when people relate, they are always relating on the basis of power.
We discuss the public versus the private sphere on this channel. And I think a lot of feminist rhetoric is that the private is necessarily public. And here we have this kind of intercourse where it's interaction, where intercourse is deemed as a political action. I think this is an interesting way to look at it. I don't think, I think a lot of, I've tested this, by the way. I think a lot of Black women see relationship as a political act where Black men don't. I know that, well, it's not like a full-fledged research, but I did randomly test it by asking people, Black people and Black people and Black women and Black men, sorry, not white people, whether or not who they date is a political act in their mind. And Black men said no, generally. And then Black women said yes, which is interesting. There was one Black guy who said yes, and he was like a Hebrew Israelite. And I think I asked like 20 people, and then I got annoyed, and then I stopped. 20 men and 20 women. in New York.
I will say that on that note, though, I think that's just that's just wanting that to be true. But whenever Black guys talk about what they like about Black women, about white women, or what they get out of those relationships, it does come down to politics. So it's just not wanting to admit it.
The private is necessarily public, but you can decide to ignore it. That was my conclusion. Wake up, makeup slave. You've been here for a while. Thank you so much. 3 months membership.
Do you see what I'm saying? Whether they are aware of that or not, you can never get away from that. And so even when people of different colors are relating, the question of power is brought into play. For example, the French, in terms of maintaining colonial domination in Africa, Arnold Toynbee has written about this, that they made it a policy. If the Black man, you send him to the African who's in the colony, you give him a high school education and send him on to the university in Paris. He comes back and he says, all right, now I'm a Frenchman and I want to be free. I'm educated. I know as much as a colonizer. I want to be free. That you can cool him out by giving him a white woman. Do you see what I'm saying? And we see certain phenomena going on in the society today where Black men who are married to white women are being given positions that Black men who are not married to white women are not being given. Why? Because the white system perceives that is a safe individual. Why? Because it is not only compromised in bed, but he is psychologically compromised. I mean, anytime you get in bed with somebody, sex is a very profound human act, and it has extreme psychological implications that spread into your, what do you do in the area of economics? What do you do in the area of entertainment?
Why do we assume, though, that if a Black man goes to bed with a white woman, he has to be assuming that she's superior, or he has to
He
feel
doesn't
that?
have to. She is superior.
Yeah, but he suppose in his relationship with her, does he have to feel that he's coming from the inferior position? What about?
She can take him anytime that she wants.
What about just the biology?
If she gets angry with him,
the biology of it? That is that he's involved in a sexual union that doesn't have political dimensions or
it
meaning,
does have political
even
dimensions.
to him psychologically.
Well, maybe
You see that? So I don't understand how both of you have the same degree, same training, and also have such a different view of the impact of the system of racism on individual in their interaction with it. I find that fascinating because it's quite obvious that she's right. I don't know why they're pushing back. In the system of white supremacy, if you accept that that is a system under which you live, then her statement regarding your place in that system is correct. No matter how much you feel, no matter how much you want to delude yourself, her statement is true. Now, you can believe it and still decide to do what you want to do. We're not here to judge people and tell you to do this or not to do this. I am here to say she's right, and you just need to live in the reality and go with it. Like, your ego should not be the one answering the question. Your logic, your reasoning, your degree should probably be answering for you.
maybe if I'm saying what Dr. Welsing is saying, maybe she's saying that that's not conscious, but the dynamic cannot be eliminated on a logical basis. I mean, on a conscious basis, you can't say that unconsciously my behavior is not determined by something that I'm not aware of.
Like a lot of people say,
You're
well, this is
assuming
love.
that all Black men then got this feeling of inferiority,
All non-white people feel inferior. See what I'm saying? All non-white people who are within the system and the dynamic and the power of the system of white supremacy, until they consciously work and struggle with themselves, and even then are going to feel inferior because functionally we are inferior. Let's say you're a professor at Harvard. I'm a professor at Howard. Physician, psychiatrist. I take the position that we are functional inferiors. In spite of that, even compared to the white person who has a grade school graduate degree. Why? Because within the political power system, they have more power to control what happens to their lives, and you and I have to control what happens to ours.
What about the fact that
why are you having to, sorry, I'm not mad at her. Why are you having to explain to a Harvard educated man the realities of being functionally inferior in a system of white supremacy? You, sir, have experienced it. You understand it. This is 1973. We barely got out of Jim Crow. How are you sitting here pretending like you don't understand what she's talking? Why does she have to explain? Why is this having to be explained at all?
Well, if you look at after the slavery, post-slavery, Black men have been fighting to be with white women since we developed the plantation. So the fact,
I think that's kind of besides the point, though, and I don't mean that to be dismissive of that reality, because that's actually quite sad. But if you're in the system, your interaction with the system outside of just having access, which is, I see why you brought it up, because that's directly what they're talking about, right? So I get why you brought it up. But for you to not understand your function in the system and how that you're deemed as inferior, not de facto as in your state of being, but as a function of the system, you were seen as inferior. No one needs to explain that. No one, you cannot both accept victimhood while rejecting it. No, you're either a victim or you're not.
But I think that what they're not naming is the power that manhood has. So you still have superiority in some ways because you are male.
No. I understand what you're saying, but if we're going to react with this, I want it to be a reaction in earnest about how blackness for every single black person in 1970s interacted with the system and what the system perceived as more important and therefore superior. I don't want it, like, there is no nuance. There is none whatsoever regarding the position of black people versus white people in a system of white supremacy, unless you don't believe we're in a system of white supremacy, which you can take that position. You can think after Jim Crow, after Brown v. Board of Education, we were all equal and therefore white supremacy disappeared. I'm not going to, we can debate that. But if you accept the system exists, you know your position.
I feel like they believe, they just don't care. They're looking out for self.
Period. Let's continue. Thank you. And that's on that note.
A lot of black men say that they are going with white women and so on because they're trying to get back at the system, or they're trying to get revenge, or this is really a hostile act, and it doesn't, in fact, that they see it as a confrontation with the white system, and not as something that they're succumbing to as an inferior person, that they're asserting, in a sense, their manhood, or saying they just have as much right to have a choice about the women that they want that white men used to have and still have. The white men can have white women, and they can have black women, they can have anybody they want, but black men were confined to black women, and they couldn't even have her when they wanted her.
Let's
but
say
now,
why this man sitting here pretending like it was black?
Remember that they had to force black men to marry black women, though.
Pretty brown skin. This is where you cited Finji, who talked about 18 years after slavery, they went to the Supreme Court. Note they lost.
Mm-hmm.
Your acceptance and allowance, right? The ability to marry white women and interracial marriage generally was given by white men, the Supreme Court, right? It was given by the white power structure. So you thinking that you are winning doesn't make sense when it was like, I hate the word given because I think we take away too much agency in a lot of our language. But I apologize for being crude, but you were given, you were given access in this way. You didn't take access. It's not an act of political dominance when you engage with someone of a different race, because you were given it. You didn't take anything.
To be honest, Themis, they might have lost, but those two cases before the Loving versus Virginia actually pushed for the Loving in Virginia to be passed.
No. I do know. So precedence is different than precedence is different if we're talking about at the Supreme Court level. Anti-miscegenation rules were not removed until Loving versus Virginia.
Yes.
So I was also going to say, Themis, that for a black man to think that marrying a woman outside of his race is even an access to power of some sort is kind of a passive aggressive way of thinking that they're getting back at a white man for something, and you're causing him no harm. You're moving him none, because it's usually when they didn't want anyway. So you're not making some political statement that's affecting a white man at all.
Yeah,
it gives black men a sense of self, but it doesn't do anything to the white men at all.
Yeah. So a friend of mine was saying that, there was a win or two in lower courts. No, I'm not talking about lower courts. I'm talking about nationally at the Supreme Court, sir. I'm mad at my friends, by the way. I don't want to listen to them because they messed up the vibe when Petty was dragging me.
Can I also add real quick to what Paris was saying real quick? I think
quickly.
Yes. I think what's really going on is, in their mind, they feel like they never had the white woman, which is not true. The white woman always had the black men, whether it was by consensual or not consensual.
Wait. So they are correct then. If black men believe they've never had the white women, then they're correct. Because they've never had the white women had them. Like literal we
They
were
still do.
slaves. Wait, stop. Let's take a moment. Let's take there was 2 wins on the state level. Yeah, that's what my friend just texted me because they want to be legally correct. But yeah, I was talking about at the Supreme Court level. But the Supreme Court will side to good state court cases. So period. We need to take a moment for this because I have to point this out. We were slaves. Like,
They always had access to us.
Wait,
So I'm
sorry. It's not like this has nothing to do with the conversation. It didn't just hit me, but it's like hitting me like, like we were actually property and slaves. Like that doesn't make sense. Like, if I was born in another time, I would be on a plantation. Look, let's continue. I can't, like, that's ridiculous. Like, we were out here being slaves.
Black men
Not
say they're
slave.
supervised. Some say they're chefs. Some say they're super and they have power that they don't have. That's a fantasy. You see what I'm saying? We can say a lot of things. I can say, for example, I'm a psychiatrist and I'm free. Does that make it a case? No, it doesn't. The proof of what is it that I can do for myself? Can I protect my children? Can I protect anything that I call mine? The ultimate answer to that is no. So that we can say a lot of things.
I'm sorry. We're going to have to play that back. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But that felt disrespectful.
The white men can have white women, and they can have black women. They can have anybody they want. But black men were confined to black women, and they couldn't even have her
Well,
when they wanted her.
Let's say that some black men say they're
vistas are
super fly.
opening.
Some say they're chefs. Some say that they're super nigger and that they have power that they don't have. That's a fantasy. You see what I'm saying? We can say a lot of things. I can say, for example, I'm a psychiatrist and I'm free. Does that make it a case? No, it doesn't. The proof of what is it that I can do for myself? Can I protect my children? Can I protect anything that I call mine? The ultimate answer to that is no. So that we can say a lot of things. Black men can think that they're doing a lot of things. It was not black men who said that white women could come now to the black community and start picking up whatever black man they want. The black man didn't have anything to do with that. And if the white supremacy system tomorrow morning wants to turn it around and say all white women come home because it's essential to maintain white supremacy, all white women will go home.
But don't you think, Francis?
So I hope you guys are remembering, hey, Sober Bobo, I hope you guys are remembering the conversations we had on here where we were talking about maybe the issue is that we can protect it. And she was already talking about the fact that black men, we cannot protect that which we build. We cannot protect the women. We can't protect anyone in the most sort of political sense of the word. Like if you actually let that sink in, that is a really sad and depressing reality. Period.
But Themis, I feel like
if white women have been forbidden to black men.
I was going to say, Themis, the problem is that we could protect ourselves, but the problem is that our men are so hell-bent on ingratiating themselves with white men and trying to be next to them that we're never going to have our own thing to protect in general because Hispanic.
No.
Let me finish though.
Wait. Your first statement, we have to continue, but I'll let you respond to this. I disagree. I do not think black people, black men particularly, but black people, I don't think we have the capacity to protect anything that we build. I don't think we do in America.
I think we do not. I don't think we do not, but it's more you go to Koreatown as a white person and mess up some stuff in Chinatown, it's going to be a problem. If you go to
they can protect their communities.
Correct, but the problem is the way they've created their communities. You go to Little Havana, you go to all these different areas where they have taken the steps to become their own community, infiltrate law enforcement, infiltrate the government and stuff to make sure that it's local and that they can protect themselves. Okay. You can't.
I think that's a separate question, though. Whether or not we could learn is different than whether or not we can currently, and I don't think we currently can.
But I think it's a flip of the switch, honestly, only because of the fact
No. That is dismissive and de minimis. But I will let everyone get a minute to respond, and then we'll change the panel. But go ahead, because there are people trying to come in. But go ahead, 1 minute each.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, you could finish up, Paris. Yeah.
Okay. What I was saying is that, again, it's too much of trying to be next to, up under. This goes back to the whole Kanye West thing. You black sometimes, you're not black sometimes. You want to hug people on the neck sometimes, then you run into us for help next time. You want a white woman, but you also, if she calls the cops on you and lie on you, you want us to ride for you. You want to talk junk about us, but if the cop kills you, you want us to ride for you and march for you. It's like you can't have your cake and eat it too. And black women have historically politically married and politically thought about things when it comes to marrying and partnering. But the issue is, even with that marriage and partnering, the only thing that we're protecting is black men mostly, because a woman marrying a white man is actually gaining power for real. If something happens to her and her kids, that white man will advocate and get something done for her. That's how Serena Williams in the hospital with Alexis Ohanian was able to make sure that she didn't die during childbirth.
Thank you so much. I can't respond to that. Pretty brown skin, go. I can't respond because of time, but go ahead, pretty brown skin.
Yeah, I pretty much, what I really have to say is, we really don't have anything to protect because the men have decided that they don't want to protect. And again, I'm not going to force any man to do anything that they do not want to do. But as for black women, we can protect ourselves, but it's going to be hard to do that because when we try to protect ourselves, the men in our community is trying to do more harm. And even when we see other races of men are trying to protect us while they're in creating laws and stuff like that, we still have the men and also the pygmies and the mammies that do not want that. They want to protect the black man more so than themselves, and that's why we're having these problems in the black community. But that's all I will say for tonight. Thank you so much.
I'm gonna say try to refrain from saying pick me. You can do a descriptor of actions, but try to refrain from name calling. But that wasn't directed at anyone. It was fine because it was general. Go ahead, concerned. We don't have a community to protect. I think a lot of people agree with that. I'm trying not to agree with that.
I think that we do have a community, we do have a culture, we do have things to protect. You know, when we think about Black thought, we think about Black art, when we think about Black labor, it's the number one export in America. So we have tons of value that we've given away to white stewardship. Most of the time when we think about those three things, white people administer all of it, and I believe it's because of our obsession with integration. When we decided to integrate, we decided to let white men lead us, including Black men. And when I think about the idea that Black men are getting involved with white women, I believe it is to compete with white men. It doesn't make very much sense, but it's about male supremacy and patriarchy that they're putting first in that situation, because they do still have physical power over women in general, white, Black, other. So when we think about those relationships, I do believe that there's a split of thought there, because there is still leverage and power in being male. And so I believe that that's the reason why the men are struggling with saying that they have no power at all.
Thank you. I can't respond. There are people in the back. QB, me, not me. I'll add you guys in just a second. Let me continue the video. This feels, by the way, this does not feel good that I'm rushing. I don't like it. I don't like it. It's probably not a great listening experience either.
By oppression, if the Black man has access to the white woman, that will make him feel more psychologically free.
It will fool them more. Let's say, for example, if you tell me, for
He said
instance,
psychologically free.
well, that's not, well, wait a minute.
He didn't say functionally free.
No, it's a fantasy, and then it's a psychosis.
Is
Do you
that
see
right?
that?
What
Right.
do
In
you
other
by
words, if you
psychosis?
are operating, just like the tell us,
That means a loss of contact
if you
with reality.
are functioning,
That is straight up like a no. Like, how can you say, "Oh, I am oppressed," but if I have access to white women, then I am functionally free or psychologically like? Look, that statement coming out doesn't even make sense. Like, how do you fix your face to do that? Add and add. Let me, before you guys go, let's play a big chunk of this.
you are functioning on something that is not reality, then you've had it.
Well,
okay? Now, but this is something that the white supremacy system understands. You see what I'm saying? They understand. Well, now we programmed these victims to feel that if they get a white woman, they will have it. Like a black cat told me who was graduating from graduate school at Harvard, that marrying a white woman was a part of the Harvard degree. In other words, I'm really in. You see what I'm saying?
Part of
All right.
ascending upward in
All right.
in the
Now,
system.
the system has
Okay, in his
programmed us
mind,
to
or-
think that. Just like it programs a black woman to say, all right, if you have a white man, it really means that you were in. Nonsense. You see what I'm saying? Because white supremacy is going on. And white supremacy will go on and victimize your children and your offspring irrespective of what you were doing in your bedroom
That's
activity.
true.
And the white supremacy system further would like the non-white and the black man to think that his phallus or his penis, if you will, is equal to an M16 rifle, which is what he maintains power with.
But Francis, you don't think it's possible for a
Well, you guys said the audio is messy. I can hear it fine. Can any, me, not me, can you hear it? I paused it, but can you, you're muted, me, not me.
Oh, yes, I can hear it just fine.
All right. I'm going to play it because I don't know what anyone is talking about. Sorry.
a white woman and a black man to be involved in relationship as individuals without all this stuff.
No more than it is for a black man and a black woman to think that they have got.
All these things
We don't
going
know.
on.
In other words, when the black man and the black woman decide that they are in love, you know, all those feelings that we call love. What we call love is just that historic programming. You know, what parent we were tied to and whatever dynamic was going on, and then we go and pick somebody who turns on those same feelings. And we call those feelings love. But that doesn't, just because we call it love and then glorify it, doesn't mean that we cannot understand how those feelings got programmed in that way. And so a black man and a black woman, particular people who've had particular experiences, meet on a sunny day and they say, we are in love and we want to go off and get married. As though white supremacy as a major dynamic in the world has disappeared. Oh no.
But we don't have proof that most black men are programmed that way.
Do we have 9/10 of the people in the world controlled by white supremacy?
But we don't have proof
Well, wait a
that the
minute, what
black
does that
man
mean?
This man is so disingenuous. Like I don't understand how you can be this obtuse and purposely wrong.
Program.
What does that mean?
That is, we don't have the statistics to validate black men all wanting to rush after white women.
Wait a minute, look at let's be honest.
Tiff, I see you saying audio. Can you, I'm in the Discord. Can you like tell me in the Discord what is up with the audio? Please message in the Discord. I have the Discord up, Tiff. Let me know what's wrong with it.
We look at what is the dynamic that goes on in the so-called black community or more amongst black people. What is still, you know, in the quiet recesses of our thinking, what is considered as beautiful? Still light skin and still straight hair. Well, what does that mean? See, that just means that the black mother who trained her son, you know, just I have a friend who says that his mother programmed him down in Oklahoma, you know, just looking out the front porch. To the girl, black girl who was light skinned, straight hair, there's a beautiful girl. To the black skinned girl with the kinky hair, she wouldn't say anything. Do you see what I'm saying? So that kind of programming, this is what I'm saying, that all of this goes
It's
on.
involved in love.
All of this goes in, is involved in love. Who is a suitable choice? What kind of woman does a professional man marry? You see, you can just survey. All we have to do is look at the phenomena of the social laboratory.
That's true.
And say, well, who are the people that particular people pick to marry? And we can understand that the dynamic of white supremacy is intact even when a black man and black woman are in bed. I've talked to black men who say when they're in bed with black women, they're thinking about Doris Day.
Oh, really?
I mean,
But Dr. Poussaint, you must admit that there are some
this
black
is
men
nothing to be ashamed of. We have got to stop being
who
ashamed
exclusively
of
don't
truth.
like any female who is not white. Now, I'm sure that you have to have one.
I don't like we're going to talk in 2 seconds, but I don't like this. The reframing of saying, okay, so let's talk about black men who say they would never date a woman unless the woman is white. That is not the topic. Like, obviously that's part of it, but that's not what is being talked about. They're talking about a structure and how people operate in that structure, even if it's not an apparent psychosis or pathology where you are saying, I only do this. And dating an out-group is itself an oddity, but to only date those outside of your group, it seems like a very specific and obvious problem. That is not what is being discussed. And to narrowcast it that way, I think is reframing in a way that is absolutely useless.
One constant, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
if a man who is black doesn't even look at a black woman and looks at nothing but white women, and then isn't that significant? I mean, wouldn't that be significant enough to be a non-generalization?
Significant, but see, I don't know if we can relate it all as clearly to sort of political, the white supremacy. For instance, let me take it down to a personal level. Suppose something is operating like the black man and his relationship to his black mother or to his black father, where he develops blocks against black women, and then he generalizes it all to other black women, and then he gets involved with a white woman. Now, that doesn't mean that he's necessarily indulging in any form of white supremacy necessarily.
He's not
That is,
indulging in white supremacy.
you can't assume that
He's
his
indulging in
rejection of his black mother is because she's black. He may be rejecting her for all sorts of other psychological reasons.
Let's go down and look at that. Let us look
and
at
that the white woman.
Hey guys, I know you guys are in the Discord messaging me privately. That's fine. That the numbers are jumping between 1,000, 700, 600, 800, 900. I don't care. Whatever YouTube is doing, YouTube is doing. I don't really care about the numbers. I'm not looking up there. I'm not going to call or message YouTube about why it's jumping between hundreds of people watching. I don't care. I'm watching it. I like this, and then we're going to engage in the conversation. I can't really focus on that. And if I come off dismissive, I apologize. It's just I'm trying to get through this quickly.
It just happens to be
Wait a
there where
minute.
he
See,
can
but this
display that
is
on.
very common phenomena amongst our people.
May I interrupt you? We're going to continue this next week, and we don't want to lose it. Next week, we're going to continue part 2 of Black Man, White Woman, and a couple of things we're going to discuss with our saint. And tonight, we're going to continue where we left off last week. Our guests are Dr. Frances Welsing, psychiatrist, a member of the faculty of the...
Before we go on, let's talk. QB.
Hey there, darling.
Hey. What do you have for us? We can continue if you want to watch more before we...
She's kind of going deeper down. Look, now he wants to talk too. She's going deeper down the rabbit hole that I was going to kind of touch on.
All right, so we'll wait
you
for
could
that,
say, you had the first question, can you basically sleep white and be pro-Black? I would argue that half the population, half the Black population, I don't even know if I can call it half now, because we know what happens to that as we grow up. Half the population can be quelled with an orgasm, and the other half, for a long time, doesn't even know what an orgasm is. So, like, it's chess and checkers. One part of the group thinks that the battle means the war is won, and the other doesn't. And we can see that a lot of times in biracial children who have Black mothers and biracial children who have Black fathers, generally speaking, not all, but
she's gonna wait, can you hold that? She's gonna get into that. And you can bring that up. Me, not me.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, so I'm very, very, very late to this, but I just the two things that stood out in the small section of video that I have seen are that they keep harping on this white man versus white women as if white women are not part of white society, they're not part of the white community, they're not part of the white collective, they're not part of the problem. I hate the way this disambiguation continues to happen, and the way they speak about white women as though they are separate. No, they are part of their community. And what's not rational is that them saying that they were getting back at the system or quote unquote the white man by dating the white woman, but the white woman is the white man. It's still the same system. So dating within the system is not really a strike against the system, if that makes any sense. And so I don't know why they always try to use that sort of as an excuse, when they're trying to, kind of justify their actions. Secondly, the way that Kai said, I can't think of the word because it's been a while now, but he said that white men are not confined to their own women in the way that Black men are confined to Black women. And that was just really, an interesting use of words. And I just wonder, I don't know, like I said, I got here late, so I don't know if she did ask, but I would ask, the nationality of their partners or if they were interested in dating out, because I think that's kind of apparent that they are.
I mean, I think it would have been an interesting ask. I don't find an issue with the word confined. Someone said it stood out to them too, because you can be confined even if you like your confinement. But the reality is that we cannot pretend like Black men had any kind of options when they were in slavery, but even beyond slavery during Jim Crow. So I think there was a kind of confinement. My issue is when the confinement lifts or moves or you now have freedom, does that mean you were confined in a way that you did not appreciate in terms of your choices partner? And I think the answer would be yes. I mean, we can look at. They're
I
going to
can
talk
see
about.
that.
Yeah, they're going to
I can
talk
see
about.
that, but also were there limitations against other races and nationalities for Black men? I mean, they did have, limited as though it was after slavery ended, you know, the ability to still get with women of other races, not necessarily white women. So again, I'm still, you know, a little bit bothered by the word confined, but I do understand what you're saying.
Yeah. No, I do get you. Truth Teller, definitely you can jump up. The link is in the top. I'll add you to the round of panelists. But let's continue. We're gonna watch a very long portion now, so we can get most of it out of the way. Take notes if you can.
The psychiatric department at Howard University's medical school, and Dr. Alvin Poussaint, who is a psychiatrist and a member of the faculty at Harvard's medical school in the psychiatric department, and author of the well-known book, Why Blacks Kill Blacks. To begin this second part of what was a very exciting first part, I'd like to throw the question out. What has the increase in relationships between Black men and white women done to the relationship between Black men and white women, in Black men and Black women?
Well, I think first we should say that, you know, there's interracial marriages that take place between Black women and white men too.
I'm sorry, I couldn't just let that go. Why are you saying this? Because what you're going to run up again is the actual research, but instead of saying it, let's just, oh my God, so annoying. The topic is Black men, white women, right? Why are you then talking about white men, Black women? The reason it wasn't is because the research is not showing that in any significant way.
And that's a whole area because it seems that Black men always get the focus of the interest and the attack, which is interesting because I think the society, white supremacy, has been concerned mostly with the Black man, white woman. So I think that's the reverse of that, the white man, the Black woman, also is a subject. There's no question, it seems to me, that Black women, from what I can see, all over, very, very upset and threatened by the growing relationship between Black men and white women, and that they oppose it. Now, from the Black man standpoint, I hear a lot of brothers say over and over again that first it was a white man who told them they couldn't go out with white women. Now it's mainly the Black woman who's telling them that they can't go out with white women, so that they still feel oppressed. Now, for whatever that's worth, I think that's important.
I'm sorry, we have to do a discussion. So first it was the black white men who said Black men couldn't date white women. Now it's the Black women saying Black men can't date white women. Black men still feel oppressed. Are we sitting here likening the lynching of Black men who engage with white women by white men to Black women being disconcerted and circumspect when they see interracial? Like, are we equating the two? Like, he's saying Black women are oppressing Black men. Like, I don't know if y'all heard that. But he's likening the oppression that they face at the hands of white men to that apparently some kind of oppression at white women from Black women. Now, is dating white women freedom and liberation?
That's what it seems like. That is kind of what it seems like. And I feel like these guys are not speaking about this from sort of an objective outlook. You know, they're a little bit defensive about the topic, and it's coming across as dishonest. And now exactly bringing Black women to it is not a necessity, but at the same time, they can't explain why then Black women aren't getting with white men to try to hit back against the system. You know, I'm sure they would have quite a reaction if she told them that she was confined to being with Black men and didn't want that. You know, again, it's very one-sided. And I just wish that they had gentlemen on there that were a little bit more objective.
Yeah.
When I listen to them, I listen with the lens of projection because it always fits. It always fits. You know, they kept talking about, there was another live stream I saw online where they were like, basically, the Black women were consenting to being with the slave masters during slavery.
Oh wait, yeah, let's not do that now, because that's
to me
that ran my blood pressure up.
You know, like, did you see slavery as a confinement? really? Or did you not? And then he starts this one off saying that, what did he say?
I told y'all that white women are the only things that black men cared about and have ever fought for. I mean, this is what is being said in this video. It not specifically, but like when you say you're being oppressed by black women because they don't want you to date white women, that seems like an odd thing to say. And you liken that kind of quote unquote oppression to that which you face, like literal death and lynching. Doesn't like I don't know how you fix your face to make that comparison. I don't know. I literally don't know how you could do that, but we do need to continue. Q, I'm gonna let you wrap up, and then we will definitely this time watch a
Yeah, I just have one more sentence to say in the lens of projection. He says that black women are oppressing black men by telling them not to date white women, but literally they're wishing death on, causing death to, aggressing people in public because it's a black woman and a white man. So what kind of oppression now? What are we talking about?
Let's continue.
An important point psychologically for the black man, because is the black woman in this, is she more concerned with her control over black men, or is she concerned with white supremacy and interracial?
I'm so sorry. I can't. It's like you didn't hear anything that Dr. Welsing was talking about, because if you heard all of that and the ways in which power interplays and whiteness either bends or shrinks to protect itself, and you don't have to believe this. I'm not saying this is true, but if you're grappling with what the doctor is saying beside you, they're both doctors, then control over you is not what this particular black woman is talking about in this particular conversation. This is about a system and power relations within that system as it relates to you and your position, where you are lower and deemed as less valuable, less important, and therefore disposable in said system, right? And that you have access to certain people, that does not give you the power that that person has. This is different than saying, oh, I just don't want you to date out because I'm concerned and I want to control you. To diminish it in this way is literally ridiculous to me. Like, there is no intellectual rigor and it's gaslighting. It feels like I'm watching a podcast in 2022 where instead of answering the question, they're like, oh, you're just mad and bitter. Like, that is what this response is. You're just bitter. That's what the response is, instead of okay, yeah, I'm bitter. Fine. Now deal with the substance of what we're talking about.
And at what point did black women, quote unquote, control black men after slavery? Because I swear I missed it.
Oh, you missed it. They sold us into slavery and then they controlled us after. Joking. I have to say joking, because apparently everyone is just getting up in arms whenever I try to make a joke. Not you guys, my friends-in-law here.
Relationships in general, because if black women are concerned in general, then they should attack just as much, I think, the white man, black woman combination.
But why don't you attack it is my question. Why wouldn't you be attacking it?
For black women, white men has decreased by the same percentage that the statistics for black men, white women has increased. So obviously,
finally,
another great point.
Finally, someone shut him up about bringing up the black woman. Like, I don't want to engage. I'm sorry. I'm going to let this go on. And I know it's annoying because I'm stopping and I feel like you guys should be able to talk to, but the video will go on forever. But I'm glad someone finally brought some stats up and say, sir, stop the whataboutism and answer the question directly.
see, the black woman
has more cause for concern at this point.
Well, maybe she has more awareness, more consciousness, more cause for concern. Maybe her concern is not due to the fact she's threatened. Maybe her concern is due to the fact that she's just politically more sophisticated and more conscious.
Yes, court.
Yes, finally. I love this man. Who's this man?
Oh, God.
What black people ultimately may have to do, and that is unify themselves.
Let me just add this, that I think that the black woman's concern is related to, let's say, perhaps her survival as a woman or her functioning as a woman. That, and hopefully, I hope it's beyond that, the change in the statistics. But I think that, let us say, black men after the age
Girl,
of
not
15
these
are decreasing the
commas.
population relative to the number of black women. Where are they? They're in Vietnam, they're in prisons, and they're dying from various causes at earlier ages than white men comparably. So that, let's say, there are a number of women, black women, who are going without adequate spouses or male partners to relate to. So probably, instinctively, black women.
You're muted, Themis, I think.
Oh, sorry. I said a bunch of things. Not all these commas. I love it. I love it. Hey, Coco, I emailed you. I apologize. We were supposed to do the thing yesterday. I came in late. We're going to try to do it. I emailed you. Let me know if the time I sent worked. Sorry, let's continue.
Are concerned about that. Historically, white men have not been interested in black or other non-white women, be they Japanese, Chinese, Indian, or whatever. They have been interested in sexually exploiting black women, but not really taking them to the altar, let's say, to marry them or to really fully respect them. So perhaps black women are responding to that. But I think that what is key is really what is happening to blacks, because I see the thrust of white women sexually aggressing against the black man, or
Why? Why do you take that position? Why do you take the position that white women are sexually aggressing towards black men? Why? I don't like that position. I will never like that position. I will never be okay with that position. I'm just not. But I do agree with her sentiment. But I think she is trying to hold. This is also this is 1913. This is 1973. So I recognize that she does not have the kind of freedom to express her ideas, if those were her ideas, fully, right? And so taking away agency from black men and blaming the system and through the system white women, I get it, but it puts black men in a very weak, docile position where it feels like she's saying black men could not, like white women are black men's kryptonite. Essentially, is what she's saying. Like, and she's gonna say, because even whatever. Like, I don't like that positioning.
from the other side,
right, black men fought the Supreme Court for white women. I think it's clear who's more interested in whom. Yeah, I feel like it's I don't like this taking away of agency. But I don't know. I do think white women who go at women generally, but white women who go after black men, particularly in the NFL and things like that, as what's her name? That lady that PJ's ex. Anyone can come off mute and tell me. PJ.
Brittany Renner. That's Brittany
Renner
Renner.
made the comment that these men are dumb, and if you want to get money, you go in and I think a lot of women take that seriously, and they go in and they're like, okay, we need money, so we might not like you and we might never have dated you, but for your money, but you have money. So yeah, I think people do take that position.
The thrust of the white man sexually aggressing against the black woman, that this produces a division between black men and black women that is going to contribute significantly to, if you want to call it, genocide of black people. In other words, if you heighten the alienation between black men and black women,
harder to organize.
Right, it will. In other words, we talk about unity at a political organization level as being one kind of unity, but there is another kind of unity that is much more fundamental, and that is the unity within the family unit itself. And we have been denied the opportunity to really have functioning family units since the really onset of white supremacy.
Let's talk about the contemporary family unit of a interracial couple in today's American society. We're in the black community. We have to admit that the black community is much more nationalistic, or very nationalistic, and that the black community is not receptive as it once was to interracial groups. The white community, I would say, has moved to the right to a very, very great extent.
You mean seemingly to the left? You mean to be more receptive to?
No, more reactionary to.
Did this man just lose his mind? How can you say they're less receptive to interracial marriage and relationship when they stop the lynching? The point at which you're no longer lynching means that you are more receptive. I don't care what you say. So it doesn't make, this is, I don't understand how she is that much more perceptive than everyone here. I'm so sorry. I have you guys up here to engage in conversation, and I'm just going because I need to get through this, and I don't have much time. Let's try it. Let's go. I'm going to speed it up more, and we'll see.
to
It's more
interracial
reactionary.
couples.
No,
I'm talking about the middle America. I'm not talking about a few New York sophisticated interracial couples or San Francisco. These, I think, are just islands are surrounded by
I would
very
disagree with
cautious
that,
white
Tony. I
communities.
would say that white people have moved to accept black men and white women to a greater degree than has ever been evidenced in this area of the world. And that is across the board. And I would say that there's a reason for this. They are being conditioned by the kinds of movies that are being made these days, you know, where you have black men and white women engaging in sex on screen or other kinds of relationships at the white community. In other words, those people who are responsible for getting the masses of white people to do those things that are necessary to maintain white supremacy are conditioning them to accept this phenomenon. You see, because they understand that the black man really is being psyched out of position. He is being psyched to think when he asked for black power and liberation. And they said, no, we're not going to give you power, but here we will give you the white woman. And the black man was faked out of position, just like many people are faked out of position. You say black power, I'll give you a $15,000 job. You don't have power, you don't have self-determination, but you have a program or a grant. You see what I'm saying? In other words, you ask for this, but I give you this because you really don't know what you want.
Well, then are you saying
or you don't
children?
really know what constitutes power, or you really don't know what is the dynamic of the system. A lot of people think that the dynamic of the system is money. Money is not the dynamic of the system. White supremacy or the maintaining of white power throughout the world, when whites are outnumbered 9-1 by non-white people, is the name of the game. Color is the name of the game. But we don't, I say that across the board and around the world, non-white people have not understood the significance of the color dynamic and how white people have taken something that they are very intimately concerned about. I say that the fact that they cannot produce color, that they have decided that they're going to dominate everybody else who has this genetic capacity, who can genetically annihilate them. You see, which is.
I'm going to go ahead and say this here is a theory, and there's a lot of theorists black theorists who have talked about this. I will not get into it. For people on the panel, don't bring this portion up. I don't feel comfortable discussing it because I just don't have the range here. I'm going to let that go because it feels. So I don't think that whiteness expand in the way that it does ignores the ability to include people who were not once considered white, and it will expand when it needs to, and then retracts and contracts rather when it needs to. So I think whiteness will and can ultimately, you're going to see that it includes more. Like, it's going to include more to survive. Like, that's just what it is. Like, the Italians weren't white, the Irish weren't white in terms of the legal definition in American. It's an American invention. It's not American invention, sorry, but a Western invention. It is not itself something that can sustain itself outside of being flexible. And so I find issues with this articulation, but I understand where it comes from. But I do find a problem with it. I don't want to talk about my problems with it. I just want to point out that I have a problem with it.
Comes one drop of black blood makes you black. That is a statement of the genetic dominance of the capacity to produce color over the inability to produce color.
And occasionally you'll find, I guess Francis has encountered this too, you'll find white women who have a preoccupation and desire to have black babies.
And white men have a desire to create children.
Well, let's talk about the first. Let's talk about the obsession, if I may use that word, on the part of the white woman to have a black baby. Now, what would the psychological dynamics be in a case such as that?
Well, I think, it's hard to tell without really just picking an individual case. But it may. Go ahead, Francis.
Well, can you have you ever had a case?
Yes, I know black psychiatrists who say that white women don't say this to white
babies.
But white women will say they're the minority in the world who cannot produce color. And so they can't produce a product of color because this is the one thing that I can't do.
How much is color the issue? I think that
you can't move.
No, I know that. Okay, but what I'm trying to do is bring in other elements. That is, there's also rationale. What I'm saying, I think that some of it is political in their minds. That is the time that the civil rights movement was talking about black and white together, and that was a political position that people almost felt forced to have interracial relationships, and that was in the forefront of the whole thing.
Well, may I ask the question?
Both blacks and whites.
May I ask the question? You did quite a number of investigative studies. I remember reading one in Jet magazine on the interracial relationships in the South during the civil rights movement. Is that correct? Yeah. Now, was there or is there a phenomenon of black leaders and white women?
Well, I don't know if it's phenomenal. Let me say that I would say a lot of the black leaders and the rank and file were involved with white women. There were also a lot of white men involved with black women, but I think the main group, that is the largest group involved, were black men with white women, and that this created a lot of problems. And I think it had a lot to do with the development of the black consciousness movement.
Well, didn't it have a lot to do?
What did it have to do with the women? See, there are people, for example, who are looking at the thing that has cut significantly into the quest for black power that went on in the 60s, has been the unleashing of white women and saying that now you go out and have relationships with a black man to cool him out. In terms of, all right.
No,
so
Oh, I'm speeding it up because we have a mess. There is a very messy part of this that I need to get into because Harry Belafonte and Sidney Poitier are two people that I followed their career very closely. I mean, exposed, right? I followed their career. So when they brought up those black scholars in Hollywood and how they dated white men, we have actually a conversation that I'm not like I know about it because I wasn't back there, but I do have some research on this, and we're going to talk because he's lying.
I agree. I watched something just very quickly, Themis, as well, where Diane Carroll I'm echoing a little bit. I don't know why.
You're fine.
Okay. At least I'm getting feedback as I'm
Wait, if you're
listening.
going to talk about the Scarlet, can you hold it till we get there? Because
Okay, because I was like, I did not know. I
Yeah,
saw
oh,
an
that-
interview with her, and I was like, okay,
Oh, I
I
was
will hold it. I
mad.
will hold it. I will
Yeah,
hold
oh yeah, we're gonna get there because this man is gonna lie, and we need to talk. Bertha
Mhm.
Kid said that her boyfriend told her not to take him seriously because no black woman could do anything for him. He also told her that black women would hold black men back. No, yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, we're gonna get into it through Sidney Poitier, but yes, this happened.
Problem.
This the
Like, I
look,
couldn't even believe it. Like, problem. Anyways.
yeah. Thank you, stars, but love turning to hate is not a good thing because I was big mad.
Okay, so that let's say, for example, the white woman, if you talk to women who are the furthest left, white women, who are in the women's liberation movement, peace movement, or any anti-war movement, if you say, look, what about eliminating white supremacy as a system? They have no use for that. They have no use even for the black man outside of the context. Wait a minute. It has been my experience. Maybe yours is different. It has been my experience that white women will talk about in the war in Vietnam. When you say, well, that's a war to maintain white supremacy, then they don't want to have any trouble looking at it in that way. When you say, well, look, the way that we have analyzed the problem is it's not a question of who has the money. It's a question of an established system to maintain white power. And that this is what is raising havoc all over the world for the vast majority of people. Do you want to eliminate that? No, because the white woman understands that the black man is not even going to feel towards her as he does unless there's white supremacy and unless he feels in his powerless position that he is gaining power by making an alliance, be it marital, sexual, or whatever kind of alliance with the white.
Yeah, I think that they feel that maybe unconsciously. There was no question in my mind that with a lot of the white female workers in the movement, even though they were involved with black men and sometimes married to them, that a lot of them had a lot of racist ideas and feelings. That is, frequently the attention of the black men made them feel very special.
Like you call it the African queen, or the white African queen.
Yeah, the white African queen. Heightened their sense of feeling special.
I mean, attention
Right, you see, because look at this.
And then
Let's look
the
at
old thing about
discrimination.
white women frequently who were unattractive, who came into the black community because the black men
ugly
adore
and fat,
them
but a black
because
man
they were
would think she
white,
was beautiful,
but the
right.
black men thought she was beautiful. And that's still operating frequently, sometimes in subtle ways, so that you can sometimes get, I'm not saying this is true of all white women anyway, but this is an example. You can get a very pretty white woman sometimes who internally thinks she's no good.
Why?
For a lot
Because
of
she has
reasons,
been
who
devalued
might
by
get
the white
attracted
man.
to black men.
See, white
So
women are
it's
asking for
it runs
liberation.
deep
They're
sometimes.
asking for self-respect from their own men. Okay, because a white man not only had to be dominant to all people of color, he also had to dominate his own woman in the process. And so white women are saying, we want to be liberated, or we want to make ourselves equal to you. You see, I think that is a major dialogue that is going on. The white woman is saying she wants to be.
Don't some of them want to rid themselves of the racism? Isn't this important?
No, see, no, that's
when they're
like
raising their children. I mean,
no, they
wouldn't you
don't
think
want
that-
to rid themselves of privilege.
Which,
You see,
which
and this is why there was a study done recently where white women are still teaching 3-year-old, 2-year-old white children that it's no good to be black and that black people are niggers and this and that and the other.
But what about the white parent of a black child? I mean, that white parent would have a vested interest in at least trying to deal with their racism so that they will raise
You would think
their
that.
children unscarred.
You would think that.
Now, all of us know, people from interracial homes. I mean, they're not all, brainwashed into being white.
No, they can't be
Most of them
brainwashed into being
have-
white because
have
they're all
identifications
non-white.
in
All of them
being
have
black.
marks of being non-white products. Either their hair is curled, their lips are broad, their nose are broad, or their skin is dark. Black genetic material is always going to leave its mark. And the children are always non-white. And the children that I have seen, many of these children have more hang-ups about.
Look, sorry, you can believe this if you want. You can believe this, and I obviously there's dominant and recessive genes, but know that. Well, let me leave that alone. I said I was not going to get into genetics, and I'm gonna leave it alone. But y'all can believe this if you want.
About not being white, you see, than black children who may be the same hue. You see,
Now, I'm going to say this, though. It is that same idea that have people like, oh, I'm just going here to create more black children. All right, period.
because they are caught in that dynamic of a parent on the one side, a white parent who still has not given up their desire to be dominant as a white person, and the black parent, be they male or female, who when they went into that alliance hoping that they would somehow be in the position of an acceptable one now after they had devalued themselves. So that the child is in.
I don't know if.
Well, she's
See, what I'm saying
just for
is-
purposes of conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody can say all of
I'm not
anything.
saying
I
all,
know, but it's important. If we're talking about it, it makes it seem as if these are.
Well, let's look at it this way.
dynamics.
Non-white children who have had white parents, all of us, everybody in this little circle, has had some white intertappings into their genetic style.
Okay.
Do you see what I'm saying? Now,
Girl, I know this is not the real Terry Joe. I know this is not the real Terry Joe, so I'm just going to ignore it. But I'm just laughing because it's I see Terry Joe, so I'm just going to laugh. But I know it's not the real one.
in the vast majority of non-white people in this area of the world have had white intertappings. So that it really is not significantly different than what happens actually in the white home itself. The dynamic is still the same. So that you have light-skinned, dark people feeling devalued because they have color. Whether it occurs in some illegal alliance of a white man having something to do with a black woman on 14th Street in Washington, D.C., or in Mississippi somewhere,
See,
or in Harlem, New York, or
there's
Fifth
a black
Avenue,
parent
wherever.
involved too.
But what I'm saying is that, see, we cannot take any of this out from what is happening at a global level. See, one thing that has happened in psychiatry, that we have been tied up with somebody by the name of Sigmund Freud, who I'm sure made some very significant contributions in terms of looking at human behavior, some significant contributions. But he got tied up in talking about behavior comes from within the individual. and only indirectly from what is happening outside of the individual. He called it the sexual instinct, okay? But there are other people, fortunately, now who are coming along.
Well, yeah,
and who are,
Yeah, but we're not, we're not completely controlled, by the externals. I would like to think that we have some power over determining and understanding the processes that affect us. But I consider myself a complete sort of a robot who's affected by racism and don't understand it. And I think a lot of people like that, both some whites, but not a lot of them. A lot of black people can understand or feel what's going on. And I think that's why you get some black men who are very aware about a lot of racial things in their blackness who may get involved in those situations, particularly in the past. And you have some who are on the opposite extreme. But it's not like we're all...
Yeah, we would never resolve that very deep psychiatric problem. But I would like to, at least while we have a few minutes, discuss one very important point. And that is the significant phenomenon, and Dr. Poussaint, I'm sure you will agree with us in an overgeneralized way this time, the significant phenomenon of well-known, I will not make well-known synonymous with prominent, black women who, particularly professional entertainers, who consistently marry white men in large numbers and one white man after the other. And I would like to know from either or both of you how you view this dynamic.
I say that they're not marrying the men, the white men are marrying them, okay? And I think that is
well, if they continually are selective.
Well, let's put it this way. Number one, that as I said earlier, that there's an extreme alienation going on between the black man and the black woman. In other words, this same conversation really could be discussing the alienation between the black man and black woman that allows for the significant phenomenon of black man and white woman that we see. All right. Because there is that alienation, then black women and black men all across the economic board, no matter whether they're on welfare, whether they're making, $150,000 a year probably as an entertainer, are having problems in terms of their relationships with each other. Now, some women who, they may be in the limelight, or they may be considered beautiful or star or something like that. All right. They have been frustrated in many of their relationships. If you take all of those entertainers, if they start telling you that they started out relating to black men, and they had a number of kinds of problems, and so now, well, I don't want to say you didn't fail us. Okay, you didn't fail us. The white supremacy system is just beating all of us.
Black men will say that too about black women. That black women have let them down.
Right. Well, you see what I'm saying? It's just like the Julia syndrome. Diane Carroll and the Julia. Black women have been programmed via TV and everything else. You don't need a black man. You just need a white man to give you a job. At the same time, they're saying to the black man, you don't want a Sapphire. She's too argumentative. She talks too much. You see what I'm saying? What you need is a white woman. Now, what does this produce? This produces maintenance of white supremacy. Why? Because you have
No, it don't. And this is where she's wrong. You said the TV is telling black women that they don't need a black man, but black women, by and large, still choose black men. The TV is telling black men in your mind that they don't need a Sapphire. They can go somewhere else. And they do, but they don't stay there generally, statistically. So I find it hugely problematic, actually, that she's in this way kind of making it as if they're even. That which is being told to the black woman that you don't need a man, which ultimately, outside of the actually not wanting to date black men, if that were the case, then that would be a problem in terms of community building. But that you should be independent and you should work is a function of capitalism. And in a capitalistic world, we can disagree with capitalism. That is beneficial to the family structure when we don't have a one-parent income sort of family structure. Like we don't. And we can't, and we cannot survive on that. So having women believe in their ability to work and provide alongside a man is beneficial where you need two-parent income household. I don't know why this is not getting through to people, but it should. But that's not what I have to say. So Diana Carroll's name was brought up. We heard that. And Eartha Kitt had like a couple years ago, had just got out of a relationship with her first husband. The only reason I know this, let me get into this. We don't have much time, so let's do it quickly, and then I'll open the panel up more. The fact is, I used to love, as a child, I thought there was no way that I wasn't going to grow up and become either like Harry Belafonte or Sidney Poitier. When I was younger, my mother and the women in my family, my dad didn't really care about this, but they pushed these two images on me, and I needed to be one of the two. Thankfully, I liked both of them in terms of how I wanted to grow up, right? And I didn't think it was possible for a man to maintain the kind of grace and elegance while still maintain some level of masculinity. Apparently, I just destroyed the masculinity part. But when I was younger, I didn't see men who were able to embody grace and elegance while still be able to control a room, right? So when I saw Sidney Poitier for the first time, when I saw him, I was like, oh my God, like there is a way to embody that without like losing yourself. And then I saw Harry Belafonte, and I saw it was the same thing, and I was like, oh my God, it's possible, right? Then I looked into their life, because I've been like, when I saw them, I've obviously doing research, I'm looking into them, I'm watching all their interviews. But then Eartha Kitt came up, and the first one of the movies, I didn't watch this movie though. I had to look up the name. So there was a movie that Eartha Kitt, Sidney Poitier asked for Eartha Kitt to join. This movie was Mark of the Hawk, right? This was Eartha Kitt and Sidney Poitier. Sidney was married during this movie, and to a Black woman, by the way. He was married to a Black woman, but claimed he fell in love with Eartha Kitt. And Eartha Kitt said, no, we can't date because you have a woman. If you leave your woman and we fall in love, because I do actually love you and I'm attracted to you. And Eartha Kitt talked about how he would control a room, and how she was like taken aback by how amazing he was, but she couldn't do it because he had a wife. He got mad and treated her poorly after that. Like, he didn't want to have anything to do with her because he wanted her to be his side woman, side girl, I don't know, side something. And she said no. And he treated her poorly. Then he went to Miss Carol. They did a movie. Let me pull that movie up. They did a movie together. Oh, here it is. They did a movie together, and apparently they carried on like a 9, however long, affair. And then he finally divorced his wife. This was his first wife, by the way. This was his first wife. Before he gained as much fame and success as he did. And then he left his then wife and remarried his new wife, right? Eartha Kitt and a lot of the Black women, Scarlets, that were in Hollywood have at one point or another expressed their need to be with a Black man during the time. And Harry Belafonte, this actually broke my heart when I heard Miss Cowell talk about it. I think I heard someone talk about it. I didn't hear her saying it. But the fact that she was essentially told that the Black men in Hollywood told the Black Scarlets generally that, look, we're not about to marry you because you can't do anything for our careers. We need white women to uplift our careers and for us to get entry into different position. So when I'm watching this interview and I'm hearing them talk about the Black Scarlets, who were mostly biracial, but the Black Scarlets who were dating and marrying white men, Eartha Kitt ultimately married a white man and then divorced. But the reality is these women attempted to be with Black men first. And so I don't understand how that part is lost. And they were there around that time. They were there. And they didn't hear any of this. They didn't know any of this. You're not going to convince me they didn't know it. I think a lot of them were lying. I think a lot of pundits tried to make it look like it was even, and what was going on in Hollywood and what was going on is that women, Black women, were trying to marry white men in the way that Black men were trying to marry white women. That's not the case. That's not what happened. It's not what happened at all. And I think we need to admit that. Eartha also said that Harry Belafonte told her that if she wanted to marry a Black man in Hollywood, there aren't any because they are all with, these were common notions. These were common phrases and ideas around that time. So it's ridiculous to me that we are having these conversations as if these women were just like, oh, we don't want to date Black men. Like, that's not what happened. You're lying. That is not what happened. All right. Me, not me, then truth teller, then QB.
Yeah, I am well aware of what was happening, with them, and I've heard those stories before. And it's too really tragic about old Hollywood. But the only thing I really had to add was just a tiny piece about this genetics that they got wrong. And I'm not going to go into a long diatribe about it, but just because we do have some dominant genetic factors, that does not mean that they cannot be bred out. And it's actually fairly easy to do. So everything is on a continuum. And I know that people are so caught up on race and they hate it when people just say that race is a social construct, and that just drives everyone mad. But really, if you know like how alleles work and how color works and nose size and ears and eyes, everything is on a continuum. There's not one gene that says you're going to be, white versus the darkest of black or what have you, or, broad nose versus narrow nose. It's on a continuum. Think of it as kind of marbles, perhaps, in a vase, or two sets of vases, one with black marbles, one with white marbles. And so every time, people breed together, you're not giving all of your marbles, you're giving half. So you're going to get another admixture. And then if you mix that admixture again with one or the other, it's going to kind of skew this way and that way. And you can just sort of serial kind of dilute the genetics away. So similar to the way that lots of us have Native American ancestry, but then when we take genetic tests, it's not found. There are several reasons for that, but you can legitimately have, a Native American ancestry, but it will not show up in your genetics because over time it's just been diluted away. That is all.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I thank you, me, not me. I really dislike the fact that these really powerful men, not powerful because we don't know if they were powerful, but seemingly powerful men who had so much charisma and control over rooms and people, just kind of decided, no, we don't want this, and we're not like, I don't know. It felt very sellout-ish. Go ahead, truth teller.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. So we watched the same interview then, the same interviews regarding
Yeah, that's why I was telling you to hold off.
Yeah. Because I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that. Well, actually I can, but it's just interesting to see that it's been the same mindset even back then. And as I had mentioned, like in terms of in Canada, to give it a Canadian perspective, it's almost endemic. And I actually had a conversation because I have three brothers. One is still in Jamaica. The other two are here in Canada. And both of them are with white women. Now, the older one, I don't really care much because he gets on my last nerve. So he's a whatever. But the younger one, I very close to. And we had this discussion because I was like, and the person that he's with, sorry to say, much as she's a nice person in terms of character, would be one of the ones that they really choose on Finsia G's series, who they really choose. I'm so bad. I'm so wicked. God forgive me.
Well, you sent it in. You submitted.
I didn't submit it. No, I wouldn't do that to my brother. That'd be too wicked. But she would fit that archetype very well.
I can't with you. Me, not me.
Anyways, and I had this conversation, and so this is to the point of when Dr. Welsing said that for Black women, it's a political choice, and for Black men, like they're indifferent to it in terms of like because I had the conversation with my brother, right? Like, and I'd mentioned in the last live that you had, like I have these conversations with him, and he was like, and I'm like, look, in a perfect world, you would just be with whomever that you vibe with, or you get along with, or whatever, that shares similar values with you. But I'm like, I said to him, the fact is that, because he's a very attractive guy, like he's over 6 feet, very intelligent, very kind. He's my favorite sibling. And so I would prefer for him to be with a Black woman. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I had this very frank and direct conversation with him, and we spoke for hours, and we spoke like multiple times regarding it. And ultimately, while he sees...
Wait, sorry. You quickly, someone
Yes.
just reminded me that I'm at the 2-hour mark.
Okay, yeah. So ultimately, like, while he sees and understands like my point of view and where I'm coming from, ultimately for him, he's just going to date whomever, because they have similar interests or what have you. He's really into anime and weird things like that, whatever. And that is how they met. They met very organically. And he's also dated Black women. So it's not like he's a kind of Black guy that dates only exclusively or is color struck or anything like that. But it really like made me very aware. I was like, oh, wow. Okay. So like you guys just have a completely different mindset altogether than do Black women. You know what I mean? And that's why I have never limited myself personally to only dating Black men. But as like yourself, I've had many Black girlfriends who have done that. And I think that Black women really need to like be honest with themselves. You're doing it to your own detriment. Do not limit yourself, because Black men are not limiting themselves.
Yeah. It's easy to hold women accountable because we are used to accepting or being forced to accept responsibility for ourselves and everyone. Men comfortably pass the buck. The end. Thank you, Curry Up and Eat. Yeah, I think there's a difference in socialization. B, go ahead. The panel is closed, by the way. I do have to go after Mocha Mommy. Q.
Sorry, I thought it was me. Sorry. So I think it just generally comes down to the goals being different. I think Black men, their goal is just to have children, and it stops there. Women, we have to take accountability for those children their whole lives. So we want them to be financially free. We want, we can picture a world where we're free. I shudder to think the men just can't picture a world where they don't have any checks and balances. Maybe they know more than we know about what kind of limits they need, because to me, it's like they're like boxes. They can, they can compartmentalize well, and they like there being a point where it stops.
They can. I don't think we can. I think we go after one thing. We're like very tunnel vision. And I don't think it's about compartmentalizing. I think it's just not recognizing system and power. And that's not to say everyone agrees that this is wrong or this is right, but I think as a general matter, the group of people saying we are men and we are logical don't tend to be rational and reasonable.
Right, and their long-term strategy is crazy, because it's like, how you want to be powerful in this box, you want to control what Black women do, but at the same time, you don't want to offer them anything for it. You can't protect them, you don't want to provide for them, but you want them to just be there, so you can not engage. I don't understand, and I know the goals are different. I'm trying to find out what the goals are on the other side, because obviously there's a competition that I didn't know was going on until very recently.
Yeah.
But one of those videos you played actually said it starts in the Black home. The Black men are competing against the Black women. And I was like, it was an eye opener, because some of the ways my brothers treated me, looking at it through that lens.
Thank you, Q. Mocha Mommy.
Hello. I'll make this quick because I know you have to go. But
we can do like a 4-minute together.
Okay. So the argument that Frances Cress Welsing was making, that Dr. Cress Welsing was making, I've heard my mother say that, as far as putting white women in Black spaces to pacify Black men. Do you remember that movie Forrest Gump? It came out in the mid-90s.
Yeah.
And I know I'm a lot older than you. But basically there's a scene in the movie where after they have the scene in front of the Washington Monument in the reflecting pool, you'll see Jenny take Forrest in full military garb through a Black Panther party. Right? It's one of the scenes. Yeah. So when you watch it again, it's right after the scene in the reflecting pool, right? She takes Forrest Gump, who's in a full military uniform, through a party that's full of Black Panthers, right? And my mom said that that's very indicative of what happened during that time, like that there would be these Black revolutionary movements, and then these kind of drug addicted white women would kind of come through and sort of be like tattletales and kind of break that movement up. And she said, that's the first time I ever saw like women not wear bras. That's the first time I saw like, and then, when we saw the whole thing like COINTELPRO, she really felt like they were involved because that they were somehow like double agents, because they knew that Black men would give them access and that would, I don't know, sort of favor them. And then it sort of is, she really feels that they were agents of like COINTELPRO, and that they were used to really pacify Black men and quell Black movements. And that she said even, white women would even use to break up the hippie movement. They would not be, they would be in trouble with the law, and then they would say, well, we'll give you a lighter sentence if you tell what went on. And that's actually how they caught Charles Manson as well. So my mom, people from that generation tend to believe that, like that white women were used to pacify Black men and their revolutionary efforts.
I mean, you can't, I don't want to say it that directly. It seems hard to be a revolutionary if the revolution that should be televised is the overthrow of a system. You cannot be integrated fully into that system and be with that. So, you know what I mean? It seems odd to think on one hand you want to overthrow the system and you are revolutionary, but on the other you are integrated and being a part of the system, unless you're like trying to destroy from within. I don't know. So I think that's. Do you think one can be a revolutionary in that way, and be married to white? Actually, that's an interesting question that we started with.
Imagine like a Samson and Delilah type of thing. Like, you may have all the strengths and gifts, but your enemy knows your weakness. And so that was her logic. And then when I heard Dr. Frances Cress Welsing saying it, it reminded me of my mom telling me that when that movie was really popular. And it was like,
This feels like if we accept this framework, wouldn't that put every white person as a suspect?
Well, she said it was specifically drug addicted white women because they had something to like, you know what I mean? And that was Jenny, right? That was Jenny in the Forrest Gump movie, right? That was her. She kind of had something to trade, like, you know what I mean? She would have something that she would have to end up trading. So again, I mean, I'll let you watch it and I'll let you see what you think, but that was what I remember specifically when that movie came out, my mother saying that to me.
Yeah, if white women went through a major character adjustment, they could really do something. Yeah, I think it's an interesting question because even Umar opposes interracial relationships. I don't oppose interracial relationships. I don't care what people do. But when juxtaposed, and I think it should be juxtaposed against being a Black nationalist or a radical, I don't know if I don't know how you reconcile the two. I think that's an interesting place to be. Tima says, as long as your partner is also committed to ending white supremacy. Yeah. Any final thoughts?
No, that's it. I just feel like that the argument that Dr. Frances Cress Welsing was making is an argument that was sort of prevalent during that time, because that's not the first time I've heard that argument being made.
You know what I find annoying? I'm so sorry. It's so annoying when I like very obvious and accepted and right ideas about the world are being presented, and these men are like, what do you mean? What do you mean we're less than white people in the system of white supremacy? Like, it feels like it's very gaslighting, and I get kind of annoyed when conversations are happening and people are intentionally derailing for you to explain something that they themselves agree with, but they want you to explain to like derail because they just don't want to accept truth. And like, I find it annoying, dismissive, and gaslighty. So that's why one of those men annoyed me today. Thank you, by the way.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, everyone. I'm going to go into the after show quickly. There's someone named Formerly in the back. We'll see what's up in the after show, but you don't have to stick around. I appreciate you guys for being here. I'm going to attempt to not rush. Like, I don't like rushing. Like, it brings me out of my frame. I'm me talking about frame. And I don't like rushing, so it is what it is. Let's go into the after show. I will try not to do this, and whenever I do a live where it's time sensitive, I will attempt to like lessen the amount of watch time for things and get more into discussion, because I think this was a hot mess. I'm going to keep it up, but I think it was a hot mess. Hey, formerly. Hello? Hello?
Hey. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi.
What do you have for us?
I'm sorry?
Oh, I said, what do you have for us? Good night.
I feel in a sense that it's kind of tragic where it seems as though a lot of Black men feel like they can only address white supremacy with their penis, be it reproducing more biracial children or conquering this, white woman with as a sexual conquest. I think that there's that in and of itself is a way of saying that they were conquered, because just think of one's value solely being in their reproductive organ. It's just a bit distressing for me.
Go ahead. I don't know if that's necessarily the truth, but I don't think anyone is. I think a lot of people are lying when they say, "Oh, we're trying to fight white supremacy." I think they're lying.
Yeah, I do. I mean, just as the things they use as rationale as to how they're approaching it shows that they're lying. It shows that there's some type of inability to accept the fact that things are the way they are. Just the embracing of a European wife as a spouse shows that they have bought into white supremacy. Studies have shown that many people, when a character is being introduced in a book, so forth and so on, and the character is not described, we are very unaware, but we automatically cast the character mentally as light skinned or white. And I feel like there's so much, excuse my arms, I'm at work at the moment. I feel like there's just so much to dissect and examine this from so many different variable angles, and for me to really get into this, I'd have to set up some form of rubric to show how I'm trying to dissemble this argument, but it was quite.
Yeah, no, and that's. I'm sorry for cutting you off, but I would love that if you would come with a rubric and we can go through it. I did want to say something in the after show unrelated to the video, but I'll let you wrap up in like 10 seconds.
Oh no, I can wrap up now, and you can go on with the show, because I hate when people derail me when I'm trying to work. So
no, you're
thank
fine.
you so much.
Please come back when you have your outline, because I would love to hear it. I actually quickly wanted to point out, I decided not to include this in the beginning because, one, I don't have the time, and two, I don't have the patience. But I saw this report, I think it was Milwaukee, where the 60-year-old white man went up to a Black man who was 20-something. I think he was disabled to some extent, and he had his hand around his neck, talking about the guy stole something from a bike from him, but it wasn't his bike. And the Black guy was saying, "I didn't steal anything." And it broke my heart because it was so sad to watch. Like, there was another guy who walked out of his car and went over there and was like, "Hey, remove your hand from his neck." And the white guy gave the second Black guy who came over the middle finger, right? And I don't know. I was sad, but I was also enraged because I think there is a lie being sold here, right? The lie is that white men are somehow afraid of Black men. I don't think that's true. I think that trope is about dehumanizing Black men to make them out to be something, and then Black men are living up to that image, because I don't think white men are actually afraid. Like, you don't walk up to someone, he didn't know he was disabled in any way. I don't know if that's true, but for you to have your hand around someone's neck, you're not afraid of them, right? But not only that, there was a second black man who comes out of the car and came over to you, and you gave that other black guy the middle finger. I think we need to stop saying that these people are afraid of any. I don't think anyone is afraid of anyone. like like the when I saw it, I almost cried because I was at work, so I had to pull myself together because I was like, how can you put your hand around this poor man's neck? It's not a boy, it's a man. He's a man, but he was also disabled. So like I just don't understand how you can do something like that and then the other guy comes out and you give him the middle finger. I promise you these people are not afraid. I promise you they're not afraid. I promise you. And I think it's a lie. And if you continue to believe that lie, you're the one who is going to get suckered. So I just want to talk about that. I'm not going to go in depth because I thought, whatever. Anywho, I've always wanted. I would like the link. At Theme Toad Part 2, I would like the link. All right, I will send it to you guys. I'll drop it in the Discord all the time. I forgot to do it today. So I've always wanted to do this where someone is live and I send everyone over there and we bum rush their channel and then like annoy them with like, I promise I've always wanted to do this and it's so annoying. We bum rush their channel with the symbol for this channel. So we know the symbol is the hat and the scale. And then you can write Theme Syntos, I don't care. But Yanni is live. Can we all, I'm going to drop the link. I'm going to end this in 5 seconds, but let's bum rush. These men won't move to defend themselves or anyone else, but will viciously demand hand-to-hand combat with a woman. Oh, I really wanted to talk about DJ Academics on Fresh and Fit. There is so much. Oh my God. Anyway, I have to go. All right. So let's bum rush. Is it bum rush? I don't know what it's called. Let's bum rush Yanni's channel. I just posted the link. So let's go over there and make noise. Let's do that. While you guys do it, let me share the screen so I can see you guys doing it. I'm watching you guys so I can see if y'all are doing it. Bye, everyone. Go over to Yanni.
We're going to be reacting to Suzette. Now, you guys should remember Suzette from Black Ink. Her ex is... Am I still muted? I don't know why I keep doing it. No, I'm not. I'm good. Suzette, nobody likes to speak about exes, you know? But, you know, she used to date that little bald-headed man. Caesar. We're not a big fan of him on this channel. Thank you guys for the compliments. You guys are so sweet. Okay. Yeah, we're not a big fan of him. So, you know, I wasn't gonna mention him, but since y'all already did. Is she from Black Ink? Yes, she is. Yeah. I wonder if she's gonna talk about that in this interview. I only watched 20 minutes. And I'm not gonna lie, you guys, I got a little emotional because I can relate to her story. I love this girl. I think she's an amazing woman. She changed her life around. And I just love women that have like
I love this so much. I love this so much.
They were the underdog. I just love underdog stories because I'm an underdog, you know. People underestimated me, so I just like seeing other women that are like underdogs or people who were waiting for their downfall and things like that rise. You know, I just love to see that. So if you're in for a treat, I hope this inspires you guys in some type of way. So let me go ahead and get into this intro because I'm going to go ahead and get started. This video is going to be long, so. Hey boos, in this video, I give commentary based on my opinion. Nothing is to be taken as factual. We are just here to have conversation. We don't expose and we don't sip tea on this channel. I'm giving you real talk straight, no chaser. Let's see if you can handle it. So I'm going to give him a shout out. I think his name is Rich, behind the scenes and things like and it's not only financial. See, women. I would just like to point out, she said in and out the girlies, you know, they leave that part out a lot. She said, hey, you be in and out of the club. It is a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. So Femis is in the house. Hello, hello. So I don't know why girls are not honest about that. I mean, Cardi B was honest about it because she kept talking about Monistat. So she was a little honest about it, but it's like we gotta do a lot just to be putting ourselves out there. In that
Girl, the way I forgot. Oh my God, I have to go. I literally do have to go.
that way to begin with. That should tell you something. Men, it's a little different, but men, you know.